Which country has comparative advantage in producing rose? Everyone? It takes the US 0.01 computer to produce one rose, but in Colombia, it takes them 0.003 computer to produce one rose. So which country has comparative advantage in producing rose? Colombia. Other idea? Yes, Colombia is the correct answer because it is cheaper. See, it takes them only 0.03, so it's cheaper to produce one rose in terms of computer in Colombia. So the trade between two countries can be benefit both countries if each country exports the goods in which it has a what? Comparative advantage. But comparative advantage, meaning that comparative advantage, a country has comparative advantage when it has higher opportunity cost or lower. Lower, true. When it has lower opportunity cost, it means that that country has to trade off less resource to produce that product. Lower opportunity cost. So here in this case, Colombia has opportunity cost in producing rose. Colombia has opportunity cost in producing rose, and the US has opportunity cost in producing computer. That's why trade in this case will benefit both countries. It's only in the ideal situation. However, in the real world, the trading between two countries, international production, are affected by many different factors like the marketplace, supply and demand relationship, the price, wages of each country, and everything. So to assess if there is trade between the US and Colombia actually happens, like the statement that we have just studied about comparative advantages. So we'll look at the Ricardian model of Ricardian. His name is Ricardian something, but I forget. In the model of Ricardian, he emphasized the differences in technology reflected in the differences in productivity of labor. See, he mentioned only productivity of labor because here in his model, he assumes that labor is the only factor of production. That's why we call that one factor economy. But in real life, an economy has numerous factors like labor, like technological development, like land, or like natural resources, or wages, or so many other factors that affecting the production. But here in the recorded model, we assume that only labor. And in the model, he also assumes that we have only two goods, that we name it wine and cheese. Wine and cheese. The total supply of labor is fixed. It means that he assumes that, for example, this country has only this amount of workers capability is fixed. But in reality, does that work? Is the total supply of labor of a country fixed over the years and years? And why? Oh, internet bị gì đó? Nó ao anh ơi. Connection mất rồi. Can you listen to me? My internet connection has problem. Everyone, can you hear me clearly without any interrupting?
Yes.
Okay. I think my internet connection has some problems. That I was kicked off out of the meeting. Okay. So in this model, we assume that the supply labor is fixed, but in reality, does that work? Only the screen stops. Then, okay. Okay, I think it works now. The screen is sharing. Is it okay? Okay. So, in reality, do you think that the total labor supply of a country is fixed permanently, or it can change due to some reasons? Change or fixed?
I cannot see the slide.
You cannot see the slide? See the slide? Is it okay?
It's okay now.
Okay. Because I have to jumping between two windows to see your answers. So type in your answers. Do you think that the total supply of labor, the labor of a country, will remain the same over the years or changing? Everyone, don't hesitate to type in change. Remember, at the beginning of the lecture of the course, I told you that any opinion is valuable. So don't be hesitant. There's no right and wrong. I'm not gonna put you in jail. Yes, it's changing due to the difference in the population growth rate. Yes. Any other reason why it's changing? Population growth, people are born and died. And how about the immigrants? People to working age, yes. People can people immigrant from one country to another, moving from one country to another. Difference it changes because of the different demand of works through many years. Yes, currently we are using more and more automatically technical techniques instead of using manual labor, right? So the demand for using labor reduces depending on the change of the company's policy. Yes, due to technological development. So for simplicity, Ricardo assumed that it is fixed, and productivity of labor in each good is fixed as well. Productivity of labor, how the worker is productive in producing something is fixed, and the perfect competition is assumed. We have two goods, as we have assumed at the beginning, wine and cheese. And with each good, we have the unit labor requirement. This term, this term is unit labor requirement of wine, and this is unit labor requirement of cheese. And what is this term? It's the number of hours of labor required to produce a pound of cheese or a gallon of wine. Let's say ALW is 2, meaning that, assume that this is equals to 2, meaning that the labor, it takes 2 hours labor to produce 1 gallon of wine. 2 hours labor to produce gallon of wine. If it's 1, this is equal to 1, it means that it takes them 1 hour working of labor to produce 1 pound of cheese. So if ALC is 2, y, let's say 2. So to produce 1 gallon of wine, they need 2 hours working. So in 1 hour, how much wine we can produce? How much? 0.5? Other? Yes, you are correct. We can produce a half of gallon in 1 hour. And this number, we call that productivity. Productivity is the unit of goods. In this case, we have wine and cheese are produced in 1 hour. In 1 hour. It can be by many workers. We don't need this string. In 1 hour. And it's the inverse of unit labor requirement, which is 1 over ALW and 1 over ALC. in one factor economy, we need to know the production possibility frontier, and to draw it, we have other terms to consider. First, the unit labor requirement. Second, this is the output or the quantity produced of wine and quantity produced of cheese. Quantity. And LW is the total amount of labor, amount of employment that is actually used in the wine production. It's equal to the unit labor requirement, how many hours we need to produce one unit, multiply with the quantity, total unit. So we have total employment, total labor amount that we use in wine production, and in cheese production is the same. So total employment, total labor of wine and cheese production has constraint, which is the total labor resource, total labor supply of the whole country. So the total production of wine and cheese should not exceed the total labor supply of the country, and this is the constraint over the labor resource. To draw the possibility frontier, the production possibility frontier, which is a line showing the maximum amount of cheese and wine that a country can produce, we have to transform the constraint here. We put L equals here instead of smaller or equal because we want to draw it. We want to draw the line. Then we make it as a function. So L equals to the amount of labor in wine production plus amount of labor in cheese production. And look at the graph here. You see, we want to transform the function in the form of y and x. Assume that this is y-axis, this is x-axis. Then quantity of y, we need to take it out. We need to take the quantity of wine out to make it y, and QC's quantity of cheese is x. So usually we have y equals to a plus bx, right? So here we want to take qy and x, we want to take qc so that we can draw it up, or it can be inverse in any order. So from this function, we can take it out to make L minus this term divided by this term. So we have QW, which means that QY. Now we have the relationship between QY and QC, so we can draw the production possibility frontier. So tell me, in this function, in this linear function, what is the slope? Slope B, right? So in our function of QY and QC, what is the slope? Slope. Look at that. Everyone, what is the slope? minus, we have two answers here, minus and plus, plus and minus. So, and yeah, and a new answer. How about other students? What is the answer for the slope of this function? Yes, it is minus ALC over ALW. And look at the line. It's downward sloping. It means that the slope is a negative number. See? So this is the slope. And by looking at the slope, you see that the opportun the absolute value of the slope is this term. And it is the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine. Opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine. So let's take a small example, easy example. The economy total labor supply is 100,000 hours. It takes 1 hour to produce a pound of cheese, 2 hours to produce a gallon of wine. So the total is 1,000. What is the opportunity cost of wine in terms of cheese? What is opportunity cost of wine in terms of cheese? Don't forget to take note while I'm teaching, because we'll use that some of the terms during the whole lecture. So here we have this term is the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine. It's the ratio of the unit labor requirement. So what is the opportunity cost of wine in terms of cheese here? Two. Correct. It's two. If we need 500 pounds of cheese and 200 gallons of wine, how many laborers do we need? How many? 900. Correct. 900. Can we produce 400 pounds of cheese and 400 gallons of wine at the same time? No. Yeah, no. The calculations here are super easy, just for primary student. Primary student. Now, as we said before, the trading pattern between two countries does not depend on only the comparative advantage, but we have to consider other factors like wage, supply, and demand. So assume that it takes 2 hours to produce a gallon of wine and 1 hour to produce a pound of cheese, and the price for 1 gallon of wine is $7. The price for 1 pound of cheese is $4. So what is the wage per hour of wine worker and cheese worker? What what is the hourly wage of Y worker. Sorry. How much? Everyone, how much money per hour that the Y worker receive when it takes them 2 hours to produce 1 pound and the price is $7. And remember, in our economy, we have only labor is the only factor. 0.5. True. How about cheese? 4. So the wage of cheese labor is 4. The wage of wine labor is 3.5. And because in the competitive economy, we assume that our economy is perfect competition. People can maximize the earning by changing the company, jumping into the industry that they receive higher wage. So in this case, the worker in wine industry may move to cheese industry, right? So in this industry, what what are what is the specialization production of the country? Cheese or wine? Cheese or wine? They will produce. When the price of the wage of wine is higher than the wage of cheese is higher than wine, so which product the country choose to specialize, choose to produce? Cheese. Yes, of course, we want to produce something that we can earn higher. So you see that the country will price of cheese divided by ALC is larger than price of wine divided by ALY. So specialize in cheese. It leads to the relationship between price and unit labor requirement, or we can turn it the terms, change the position of the terms so that we have relative price of wine over price of cheese. We call that relative price of wine, and this is opportunity cost of what? This term is opportunity cost of what? Opportunity cost of, no answer, of wine, one answer. Wine in terms of cheese, two answers. Yeah, the opportunity cost, remember, we always take two terms. So it's the opportunity cost of wine, but in terms of cheese. So when the relative price of wine is higher than the opportunity cost of wine in terms of cheese, they will produce wine. And in other case, the case in our example, that is smaller. so they will choose to produce cheese. So there's another way easier to understand and remember. You see, in the role of the wine production, in the role of wine manufacturer, price is what they get, they receive from the market. So this side, this side is what they get. But the unit labor requirement, the opportunity cost, is the cost. So it's what they give out, what they pay. So when what they get is larger than what they pay, so they will choose to specialize in production, the thing in the nominator. Again, if they receive, that is, they receive, they get. If the things that they receive is larger than what they pay, so they will choose to specialize production. If what they receive is smaller than what they pay, so they will not produce this thing, but instead they will produce this thing, cheese, not wine. Understand, everyone? Okay, so what if is equal? So what if it's equal? What they get is equal to what they give. So what is their solution? What should they produce? Any idea? If what they give is equal to what they get, so what they choose to produce? Both? Others? Both? Yeah. In that case, it's they are indifferent in producing anything. So whatever, they can produce both. So you need to denote this the term here, the relative price and the opportunity cost. When no trade occurs, so the relative price is equal to the relative unit labor requirement because they can produce both. So they have less incentive to trade. The case that we have trade now, I think we need a short break of 15 minutes so that we'll get back in at 15, 50. Okay, let's take a break until 10 minutes to 12. Okay, can I have everyone listen to my voice? Okay. So now we consider the case with two countries practicing the trade, international trade between them. So we add one more country that we call foreign. Previously we have home, but now we have foreign. So the notation with star is for foreign and without stars for home. We assume that the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wide in home is smaller than that of foreign, which is this, or we can change the term a bit. So in this case, Home has smaller opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine than foreign and vice versa. So foreign has comparative advantage in what product? What product? Home has smaller opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine. So foreign has comparative advantage in wine. Other idea? Look at this. So foreign has comparative advantage in remember at the beginning of the lecture we talked about opportunity cost and comparative advantage. The country that has comparative advantage in producing something is the country that has higher opportunity cost or lower, higher or lower. Listen again. The country has comparative advantage in producing something is the country that has opportunity cost, which is lower or higher? Lower. Yes, lower. So here, home has smaller opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine than foreign. So foreign has comparative advantage in what product? In what product? Home has smaller opportunity costs. Everyone? Come on, it's super easy. Home has smaller opportunity costs of cheese in terms of wine. It means that foreign has higher opportunity costs of cheese in terms of wine. So foreign has comparative advantage in wine. Correct. So foreign has comparative advantage in wine, and home has comparative advantage in home has comparative advantage in what? Cheese. Correct. In cheese. So last time we mentioned about absolute advantage, and we agreed together that absolute advantage or absolute productivity do not affect the pattern of trade. We need comparative advantage to determine the trade. Or in other words, we need four terms here. If only two terms like this, we call that absolute advantage. And it does not help you to determine the trade or determine the specialization. We need four terms. So we will analyze the graph of the relative supply and relative demand curve. We assume at the beginning here, we assume that You can take a note in case you want to forget later. We assume that the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wide of home is smaller than that of foreign. We assume that. So that's why here we draw the opportunity cost of cheese of home of foreign is higher and home is here. So we will consider this axis is relative price. This axis is relative price, price of cheese divided by price of wine. And this is relative quantity of cheese, which is the total quantity of cheese produced by home plus quantity of cheese produced by foreign, divided by total quantity of wine, which is the sum of quantity of wine produced in home plus quantity of wine produced in foreign. What if the relative price of cheese is lower than the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine of home? Like it lies from here to here in this line. What happened? The first case, when the relative price of cheese is smaller than the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of what? Of home. So home will produce what? We have. So home produce what? Home produces what? If we have this relative price of cheese is smaller, what we get is smaller than what we give. Think again. What we get is smaller than what we give. So, should we produce cheese? When the relative price is here? Yes, home produce wine because nobody wants to produce something that. Sao nó có power off ta? So the thing you get is smaller than the thing you pay. So home will not produce cheese, but producing wine. How about foreign? Foreign produce what? With this condition, foreign produce what? Don't forget the assumption at the beginning. Cheese. Any other idea? Foreign will produce what? When the relative price of cheese is smaller than the opportunity cost of cheese. Why 2? Correct. Foreign will produce wine. Why? Because of the assumption. See, we assume that the relative the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of supply of home is smaller than that of foreign. So when the relative price is here, it means that the relative price of cheese is smaller than this. So both countries produce wine, and no countries choose to produce cheese. Understand? Anybody needs me to re-explain? Is it okay, everyone? Explain again, okay? See, if the relative price of cheese is smaller than the opportunity cost of cheese of home in terms of wine, so what we get, price is what we get from of cheese producer, is smaller than what we give, what we pay. So we should not produce cheese. That's why home will choose to specialize in wine. The same thing happened for foreign, because we assume at the beginning that opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine of home is smaller than that of foreign. So this is the same that the opportunity cost, the relative price of cheese in terms of wine, relative price of cheese is smaller than the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine of foreign too. So both countries, no countries wants to produce cheese. Both of them produce wine only. So when the relative price is here, there is no cheese production and no trade as well, because we have only one product. Is it okay, everyone? Okay. Okay. So if the relative price of cheese is up here, what happened? It is larger than the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine of foreign. So foreign will produce what? Foreign produce what? Cheese. Correct. What we get is larger than what we pay. So produce cheese. How about home? Home produce what? Anh ơi, nó lại off nữa rồi. Also cheese. Correct. So in this case, both countries will produce cheese. No countries produce wine. So we have no trade in this case. What if the relative price of cheese is exactly at these points, these 2 points, exactly equal to the opportunity cost here and here? What happened? So if it's equal like that, if it's here. So home will produce what? In this case, home produce what? If it's exactly equal to the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine, then home produce what? Everyone, home produce what? We discussed previously either wine or cheese. Good. Either. Both. How about foreign? Foreign produce what? Foreign will produce what product when the relative price is exactly at that point? Everyone, think again. Look at the graph. Look at the graph. When the relative price is exactly here. So home will produce both things. But foreign, what foreign will choose to specialize? Foreign produce what? Wine. Yes, wine, because it's smaller than the opportunity cost of wine in terms of cheese or foreign. It's here, it's smaller than that. So in that case, home produces both, but foreign produces only one. How about the other case, the upper case? When the opportunity cost is exactly equal there, then home produce other people. Home produce what? How about others? Do you understand? It's a little bit confusing at the beginning, but after you really understand the rule, then it's easy, super easy. We have two answers of cheese. Any other answer? Home will produce what in this case? Just pick one of the two products and then you have 50% correct. Cheese. Yes, you are correct. Cheese. Home will produce cheese because it's higher. It's here. It's higher than their opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine. See? It's higher. It's here. So it's higher than this. How about foreign? Foreign produce what? Foreign produce what? Off again. Foreign will produce what? Other people? Home will produce only cheese. How about foreign? Everyone? It seems like not many people understand this. Honestly, do you need me to re-explain the concept? Who needs me to re-explain, to teach it again, talk about it again? Raise your hand or type in. other people. It's your right. So tell me if you need me to re-explain. Okay, get back. Let's get back to this slide. Here, we determine that the country will specialize in producing the product if the labor enjoys higher wage, right? They want to maximize their earnings. So if the price is higher, the wage is higher, it means that they can earn more in producing that product instead of other. So in this case, the wage of wine is 3.5. 7 divided by 2 in cheese is $4. So this country will choose to specialize in cheese. So that relationship, we can write it here. The relationship. We will really produce cheese if this relationship, this equality happens. True. So we can rewrite that a bit. That is here. We can move the terms here. PC is here. ALW here. So we get this relationship. If this happens, meaning that the country will specialize in cheese because the relative price of wine is what they get, what wine producer get from selling wine. They get is smaller than what they give because it is opportunity cost. Remember, the definition of opportunity cost is something you have to trade off. So the opportunity cost of wine in terms of cheese is higher than the relative price of wine. What they get is smaller than what they give out. So they will not specializing in producing wine, but they will produce cheese. Understand? Understand, everyone? Yes or no, honestly? If not, I can explain again. Tell me. Okay, what's that to the Quỳnh needs me to explain again. Okay. Here, the country will choose to produce cheese if this relationship happens. It means that the relative price of wine is smaller than the opportunity cost of wine. Often.
The disco revival was in its heyday. It was cool.
The opportunity cost of wine in terms of cheese is higher than the relative price of wine. So, from the perspective of wine producer of the country when they produce wine, so the relative price of wine is what they receive, what they get.
You don't look like you're asleep.
By selling wine. What they receive is smaller than what they give, what they pay. So they should not produce wine in this case. What they receive is smaller than what they pay.
Dandruff shampoo.
So they should not produce wine, but they produce cheese.
Wait, this is a dream,
What
isn't
happened?
it?
If anyone here is dreaming, it's me. Look at you. You have the beauty of Priyanka Chopra.
So they produce cheese in this
incisive
case.
intellect of Ruth
If
Bader
it's
Ginsburg.
higher, it means that the
Yeah, of
relative
course it was a
price of
dream,
wine is
people.
higher than
You
the
didn't think it'd be
opportunity
that
cost of
easy
wine
for her,
in terms
did
of
you?
cheese. What they receive, what they get, is higher than
All
what
the
they
time,
pay.
Paxton kept complimenting me and
So
telling me how much he respected
they
me and
should
stuff.
specialize
What do you
in
think that
wine
means?
because they
Baby,
receive more
the
than
reason
what
I
they
was
pay.
enlisted by your doctors and your
Is it
mother
true?
is to
Is
delve
it
into some of the
understandable?
major events that have happened in your life over this last year. Now, we've been seeing each other for months, and you still don't want to talk about your father.
What's there to talk about? He's dead. It made me sad. Now I want to talk about a major event that could happen
Okay,
this
everyone
week.
is
Popping my cherry,
done with
Mom.
this?
Lord.
The statistical odds that I would lose
Okay,
my
let's
virginity
move
to somebody
on.
that
We don't have
hot are
much time.
incredibly low. I ran the numbers with Fabiola. I have a better
Here in
chance
this
of getting hit by
case,
a meteor.
I
when
know. I got your Excel
this
spreadsheet.
is
We could
exactly
talk about my dead
equal
dad
to
anytime.
this point,
I'm
the
in the
relative
Glazed Pacific
price of
window right
cheese
now. I'm ready to
is
bone.
here, is exactly here
If you were ready
at
to
this
bone,
point.
you wouldn't use the
So
phrase ready to bone.
for
And what's
foreign
so
is
special about
equal.
this boy
It means
anyway?
that foreign is indifferent in producing
This.
anything.
Scroll.
I'm not going
It's
to.
equal.
Trust me.
What I
Scroll.
receive is equal to
Now,
what I pay,
damn.
so I can produce any
This
of
is
them.
good
So
on
the
me,
country
right? I
will
know,
produce
right?
both
He
wine and
may,
cheese.
but he is
But
still a
it's
person with
here, so
feelings and
it means that
problems.
the
Not much
relative
of a
price is
problem.
higher than the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of what of home. It's higher than that of home. So home will produce only cheese, but foreign produce both. Understand, everyone? Is it okay? Is it okay? Is it okay? Tell me. Okay. Just type in. Don't hesitate to tell me what you feel or what you need. Unless I don't know what I can do for you. Can we move on? Okay. So we assess the case here and here, here and here. But how about the case in the middle? What if the relative price of cheese lies in between two opportunity costs in this range? What happens? If this happens, now it's easy, it's much more easy for you. When this happens, meaning that look at this side. Home country. This is home, right? Home country should produce what? Home country produce what? Home country should produce what? Home cheese and foreign produces wine. That's good. Here,
I've seen the
wine.
people in your waiting room.
And here,
No offense, but they're mostly uggos.
cheese.
I do
So
take offense to that.
home
Forget
has
about Paxton
home
and
has
your guy'
comparative
mental
advantage
state.
in producing
Losing your
cheese,
virginity to
and
someone
foreign
you
has
barely
comparative
know
advantage
and who
in
probably
producing
doesn't
wine.
care about you.
Is a great idea that I
So
fully support.
they can specialize
You
in
know that's not
producing
where I was
only
going with
that
that.
product and trade
Nice
with
try.
each other. So in this area, we have
Baby,
trade.
I know you're upset.
and I wronged you, and I'm sorry.
The
and I
quantity
expect
that
you
they
to just
trade,
forgive me.
the
So
relative
I
quantity that
stayed
they
up
trade
all night,
is the
and I
relative
made a photo
is the
montage
total
of our
quantity
entire
of
friendship
cheese
sent to
divided by
collections all
total
over.
quantity of
It's all
wine.
good. I forgive you.
Because
Okay,
she
well,
home
with your
country
permission, I'd still
has
like to play
total
it into the
labor
closing
L,
time, and
We're good.
total
I'm
labor
happy for you
resource
all.
L, so they can produce
Oh,
this
great.
amount of
Oh, and I agree. We
cheese,
won't keep any more secrets from you. Even
and
if that
foreign
project
can
puts you in a
produce this
wheelchair once
amount
again.
of wine.
Well, that's not gonna happen, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Hey, Fab.
The downward sloping.
I
Look
like your
at
denim overalls.
the demand curve.
Fab, what
The
was
relative
that? That was
demand
so
curve
sexy. Did you ask for
downward
Alex Gomez?
sloping,
Well, I followed through on your boyfriend's
downward.
plan, so yes, Alex
It
and I are
means
going to
that
Wetzel's Pretzels this
the
weekend.
substitution
what about
effect,
you and Jonah? Did you ask him out yet? I heard
when
he works at
they
Sephora and loves
look at
getting
the
makeup.
curve here,
Actually,
it's
I've been
downward.
talking to someone
So when
else.
you
Paxton Hall
increase
Yoshida.
the
Ever heard of him?
quantity,
Davy told
when
her
you
friends about her
or
interaction with
sorry,
Paxton.
when
Let's just
you
say she wouldn't get points for accuracy.
increase the price, when you increase the price, the relative price of
Yeah,
cheese,
it's so weird. Like, I was just
so
winding around
the
with
relative
and Paxton,
quantity
like,
of
literally
cheese
pulls me
increase
aside
or
and is like,
decrease.
hey, you're Davy,
If you
right?
increase
I
the
think you're
price,
super cool
the
and really
relative
smart,
price of
and if you're
cheese,
down with
so
it,
the relative
I want to
quantity
get
of
to know you
cheese
better. And I was
increase
like,
or
yeah, I
decrease.
mean, sure. I guess that could be cool. Fab, are you paying attention?
Yep. Someone's dating family. Okay, what is it? I mean it. that jeans and blazer. Are you crazy? A fashion segment on the
Increase or decrease. Everyone, if we increase the relative price, increase, so the relative quantity of cheese increase or decrease. If the demand curve is like this, everyone, decrease. Yes, true. When we move along the curve, increase this, it means that we are moving in this direction. So, and what does that
shows that
mean?
it was a
We call
fun way
that
to mix professional and casual.
substitution
Yes,
effect.
you look like a
What does
careerist
that mean?
Western woman, which you obviously are.
When
They
the
don't need to know
relative
that.
price of cheese increase,
Come on,
relative
Anna. This family wants to see
quantity
that you
of
can cook, clean, and
cheese
cater to their sons. They basically
decrease,
want him to marry his
meaning
own mother.
that
That sounds sexually confusing.
It
the
is, but it's
quantity of
just the wedding
cheese
dance. After you get married, you move to the United
compared
States.
to
You can do
quantity
whatever
of
you want.
wine is decreasing.
Okay? Okay? I don't even know why we have this
Quantity of
stupid bike. It
cheese,
was Mohan's.
quantity of wine. When we decrease this term, decrease the whole term, it means that the denominator gets smaller, more and more smaller compared to the denominator.
What's wrong with you? I gave you strict instructions to buy a model
Understand?
sedan.
You did, but I received other instructions.
Everyone
from
understand?
California.
What?
Come on, my love. We already have your car, and this will be our fun ride for date nights.
Don't be afraid to tell me if you need me to explain again. Don't keep silent, and then until you get the quiz or the homework or the exam, you get trouble.
Turning the AC on every once in a while.
Turn on
Tell
the AC.
me,
There are people in Siberia who'd kill to be this hot. But yes,
okay?
I should sell this car.
Everyone?
At lunch, Davy beelined it to where she knew
We
Paxton
call
would
that
be.
substitution effect because
Hey, Paxton,
when
can I
we
touch you?
increase the relative price, I try to speak slower. It sounds ridiculous, but
I thought I would follow up
increase the relative price.
and ask if you
So it means that
After school today at my place?
today?
Yeah.
That's super soon.
It out. When Davy's dad.
sorry, I have problem with my headphones, so
Anyway,
it's turning on and off all the time.
Davy. Let's jam.
When we increase the relative price of cheese, meaning that the price of cheese is now
Yeah, it does. It
changing
smells
what?
like actual shit in this room.
There's not. The room was cleaned
Okay,
over
again.
the summer.
Okay, well, what about those vents?
Again.
Did they clean those vents over the summer?
When
They're
we
pooping shit up
increase
there,
the
you don't
relative
know.
price of
Eric?
cheese,
Enough?
meaning
We're
that
playing.
you decrease
Please.
the relative
Lead us in?
quantity of cheese. because the curve is downward sloping like this. Increase this, meaning that you move to this direction, and your relative quantity decrease.
Play like this. You come over here and
What does that mean by relative quantity decrease?
God damn it, Eric!
This whole term decrease.
barf in my tuba.
Whole term decrease, meaning that the quantity of cheese becomes smaller and smaller compared to quantity of wine. And it is substitutional effect because when you increase this, it means the price of cheese now is higher, becomes higher and higher compared to the price of wine. Or in other words, we can say the price now in the market, cheese is more expensive comparing to wine. Cheese is more expensive comparing to wine. So people will eat more cheese or wine. If that happens, if the whole country has only cheese and wine, when cheese is more expensive, then
Shit, are you okay?
yes, you get the point. They will substitute. That's why we have substitution effect. Substitute cheese for wine. Eat more wine, drink more wine, and less cheese.
Is that any way to greet your mother and your neighbor?
So
Andrew here was just thinking of
it
buying
makes
Dad's old moped. What?
the quantity produced of cheese now smaller to wine.
But it's Dad's. He wouldn't want
Is
you to
that
sell it to a
reasonable
discount
now?
Luke Wilson.
Oh, I know Luke's a great guy.
Shut up.
Understand?
Dad's not here. It's my call.
Mom, you're being such a bitch! Yeah, you better go to your room before I give
Other
you a
people,
smack.
other students, are you alright?
Smacking.
Okay, good. So the intersection between the demand curve and the supply curve. The supply curve has a shape of zigzag curve, ridiculously, due to the relative price and quantity and opportunity cost. So the intersection, we call that equilibrium point. That's the point that is the market stays stable.
Look, we want to talk about a different type of snack. Paxton HY.
We saw you drive off with him today.
Did you guys hook up? Is his penis
So the demand curve can cut the supply curve at any point, here, here, or here.
Yum yum.
If it's exactly at point B and A, we call that. Now first, if it cuts the supply curve at point 1, so we have the relative price PT at this point. In this range, home we produce cheese and foreign produces wine. So each country specializes completely. They produce only one product. So they completely specialize. But if the supply curve and demand curve cut each other at point A or B, here, exactly here, equal, we call that incomplete specialization. Incomplete specialization. Why? Remember last few minutes ago we talked.
Hey, this was
If
really
it cuts at
uncomfortable for me
point
to watch.
what? Point B or point A. This point A. Then home produces both products and Y is produced in foreign only. So both countries still they can trade, but incomplete because now foreign produce only Y. In this case, same.
What's interesting about me is I'm in a 6-year research program to find preventative treatment for Lyme disease. We've had a recent breakthrough and it's
Namaskar, Mami Mama. What she loves to do
In this case, it's the same.
some of your favorite recipes.
Home produces only cheese and foreign produces both products. The practice is incomplete specialization. And this mostly likely happen when one country is large and the larger country produce incompletely specialized, producing both goods.
You shouldn't wear so much makeup. It'll collect on your mustache.
At least I can grow a mustache.
My doctor says any day now. So who are you trying to impress?
Previously, we construct
But I'm kind of seeing someone.
the production possibility frontier of one country, but now we can construct both country, home and foreign, using the numbers of labor supply, unit labor requirement of each good, and then combine them into one curve of world production possibilities frontier, showing maximum amount of products that the world can produce. Gain from trade. So now we know that two countries can produce things and trade to each other. So what is the advantage of that? What is the advantage of that? Now, PF, look at the line PF. It is the production possibility frontier of home. But because after trade, the country can consume up to TF line. We call that consumption possibility line. So before trading, home can produce up to only this amount of wine only. But because trading, so they can buy more wine of foreign and consume up to this point. Same thing for foreign, they can produce only this amount of cheese, but they can buy from home and consume up to this point. So everyone is better off. They can consume more, so they gain from trade. We have a small numerical example for you to understand. Suppose, take a note, please. We can use these numbers to calculate later. Let's take a note. Cheese, it takes cheese 1 hour to produce 1 pound of. It takes home one hour to produce 1 pound of cheese, and it takes foreign 6 hours. Why it takes 2 hours for home to produce 1 gallon of wine and 3 hours for 1 gallon of wine in foreign. And we have this ratio, the opportunity cost of cheese in terms of wine. ALC over ALY is 1 over 2. 1 over 2. 6 over 3 is 2. It satisfies the condition that we assumed previously, that home has lower opportunity cost of cheese than, in terms of wine, than foreign. And we also assume that the relative price of cheese is 1. Sorry. Meaning that price of cheese is equal to price of wine. So in this case, both countries, because the relative price lying in between these 2 points, in between. So both countries will completely specialize and trade to each other. So think of the gain from trade. Home can get wine. Sorry, my headphone has problem again. So home home is better in producing cheese. So it has two options for Y. First, they can produce at home. Second, let me write it here. Have you all finished taking note of the numbers here? Finish? Okay. Home has two options. First, home produce Y at home. And in 1 hour, they can produce how much Y? In 1 hour, home can produce how much Y? Can anyone tell me? Yes, 1/2, 0.0 or 0.5, that one. Second option, home can use 1 hour to produce cheese. How many pounds of cheese they can produce in 1 hour? 1 pound. 1 pound, right? So for 1 pound, they can earn price cheese. But the price of cheese is equal to the price of wine. So it means that they can take 1 pound of cheese to sell for this amount of money. And then with this amount of money, they can buy how much wine? Buy how much wine? For price of wine? Yes, 1 gallon of wine. So which option is better? Trade or not trade? Trading or not trading? You see the difference? Yeah, trading. Without trade, they can only have 0.5 gallon of wine for 1 hour working. But now with 1 hour by trading, magically, they have 1 gallon of wine. Understand again from trade, everyone? Okay, let's move on. So we have been through the context of the concepts of relative price. Now we come up with the concept of relative wage. So this is the wage of cheese worker. We did it previously. We compute that a few minutes ago. Price of cheese divided by unit labor requirement of cheese, and same for wine. But I told you before, in the long run, I'm sorry, my headset just been turned off again. I got to turn it on and on again and again. So annoying. So in the long run, workers in a country will move to the sector that pays them higher. And that happens until the wage of two sectors are the same to converge at the wage of whole country. But it doesn't happen in the real life. You know why? It doesn't happen in the real life that the wage of all sectors are equal. Why? Anybody? Any reason that we cannot pay a doctor in the hospital the same wage as a worker in the factory, same wage with the teacher or a farmer? Why? Depending on their ability. Other idea? Everyone? Because of their job? How about others? Think of anything. Maybe because of the climate, because of the preference. Everything. Think of everything. Anything that can come up with your mind. Because of numerous reasons, like technological development, like capability, or the advantages and disadvantages of a country. So, but in perfect condition, the wage will converge to one wage in the long run when both products are produced in the same country. So we assume that two countries are open to trade to the relative price, this relative price of trade. So the wage, we have only one price, one relative price. So one price of cheese, one price of wine only, and the wage of each wage of home is the price of cheese divided by unit labor requirement of cheese. Because now home produces only cheese, and wine, and foreign produces only wine. So we come up with a conclusion that a country with absolute advantage in both goods will enjoy a higher wage after trade. Think of this. Who can prove this statement by using the notation wage, price, unit labor requirement? You can raise your hand. I will give 2 minutes, 3 minutes to think, and a bonus of 2 points for the midterm exam. If any one of you can prove this by using the notation. 2 minutes starts. Raise your hand. A country with absolute, super easy, absolute advantage in both goods will enjoy a higher wage after trade. Anyone wants to answer first? Who wants bonus points? Okay, Quang, please speak. Turn on your microphone and speak. Or you could share your screen. You can present your screen for easier to explain. Ready? We don't have much time left. Can I complete the job? Can I prove that for you? No, I cannot hear you. Everybody can hear? No, I can't. Everybody, can you hear he's talking? No. You can share the screen.
Hello.
Okay.
I think it's because the absolute advantage depends on the money, and when a country with the absolute advantage, it means that countries have strength on producing that two kinds of products. So when bring to another country, they will enjoy the higher wage after trade.
So what do you mean by has the strength of producing? Can you use the you can use the notation to prove?
I don't know how to explain.
Okay, so I will do it. I will do it. Okay, everyone. So suppose that home has absolute advantage. What is absolute advantage? When it costs them smaller cost to produce something. Absolutely, for example, smaller ALC. Here, home has absolute advantage in producing cheese compared to foreign. We don't compare cheese with wine now. It's not comparative advantage, but it's absolute advantage. So after trade, what does that mean by after trade? We studied before that after trade, the price of cheese sorry, price of cheese in home is to, and price of cheese in foreign will be the same because now the world is freely trade. So we have only one price of cheese and one price of wine. Only one price of cheese and one price of wine. So if home has absolute advantage in producing cheese, so the wage of cheese in home, how to compare that with the price in foreign, the wage in foreign, smaller or higher? Everyone? Other people? Price, wage is equal to price divided by unit labor requirement. The unit labor requirement of cheese of home is smaller than that of foreign, so the wage of cheese worker in home is what? Is what, everyone? Higher or lower than foreign? Everyone, I know you are hungry now, but try. We have just a bit to finish. Higher, right? Higher. So same thing happened to Y because they say here, a country with absolute advantage in both goods. Both goods. So same for Y. Meaning that wage of Y in home is larger than, is higher than in foreign, right? And in the long run, wage of cheese and wage of wine in home will be equal. So we have wage of home is larger than wage of foreign, higher in the long run. So it's true. Understand, everyone? Understand? Okay. Okay, quickly, we have a few minutes left. Here we can use the numerical example with the numbers that I gave you to prove, and it's true. The misconception, you can read it in the book yourself. Comparative advantage with many goods. Here I have, previously we have only two goods, wine and cheese, but now we have a list of goods, 1 to n different goods. So for each good, we have the unit labor requirement of home and foreign for each good, denoting by this term and this term. To know that which country produce what good, we rearrange the order of the goods from 1 to n in an order such that the relative unit labor requirement of that good of home comparing to foreign is increasing, is ascending, increasing one by one until n. So if home produces I, then the wage of home is PI divided by ALI, and foreign, this term, and price of I in home and foreign must be the same in a free trade equilibrium. So the cost of producing product I at home is this much, wage multiplied by the hours, number of hours to produce that, and foreign is this, the wage of foreign multiplied by the unit labor requirement of foreign. So there's a rule that goods will be produced where it's cheapest to make them. This is the cost of producing the good I at home. This is the cost of producing good I in foreign. So in this case, we should produce I at home when the cost to produce at home is smaller to produce in foreign. This happened, then this happens. So it's equal. We can change the terms a bit to make it look better, easier to understand. That the relative wage of home and foreign, and this is the relative unit labor requirement of foreign to home of the good I. So we come up with the rule that if the ratio is larger than the ratio of wage, then the good will be produced in home. If the ratio of opportunity, unit labor requirement is smaller, then we should produce the product in foreign. See, it depends on the ratio of wages. So we have a small example for you to work. You can do it at home using the rule. And here, for many goods, it's the same. It's included here. When you work with the example here, you see. And there's another thing that the demand for labor of home over foreign, we call that relative demand of labor, moves in a opposite direction with the relative wage of home to foreign. See, when we increase the relative wage of home to foreign, then the need, the demand for the labor of home to foreign would reduce. You can think of the reason at home, because we don't have time now. So there are some graphs for you to look at and some exercises to work home. Is it okay, everyone? Can we stop the lecture today? Or is there any unclear point that you need me to explain again? Other people? Any unclear point? Okay, if there's nothing for you to consider, then we can stop the lecture today. Thank you.